What is up, YouTube? Hello, Party Parrots. Marvel Snap's October patch has dropped, and with it comes data mines for what looks to be the entire December season of Weapon X, and it is looking to be super juicy, some incredibly strong cards. And I know if you're a fan of the X-Men or Wolverine in specific, you're gonna want to see this. But before we actually start breaking down these cards, of course, I'm going to be going over the cards, synergies with the cards, and giving them a rating 1 through 5. But I'm also going to be doing a giveaway on this video. So, in order to be eligible for the giveaway, it is going to give you a season pass for the October season. So, if you already have the season pass, unfortunately, it won't give you anything. So, you don't have to enter. But if you are looking to get the October season pass, just let me know which of the make sure you're subscribed and let me know which of these cards you are most looking forward to. Just put that, and if you already have a season pass, just also let me know that, but put that in the comments so I don't put you into the drawing. And then at the end of the week, I will pick a winner at random, and then just let me know what the best way to get in touch with you is, either through Discord, Twitch, email, Twitter. I will get you a season pass code. But let's actually break down this Weapon X season featuring the season pass card, Weapon X. Now, before we break down the season pass card Weapon X, because of course on a Weapon X season we had to have the Wolverine himself as the season pass card, I do want to say these are all data mines. That means they are completely subject to change. Some of these cards might get buffed, some of them might get nerfed, some of them might get completely reworked, some of them might not even make it into the game at all. But most of these cards, I think, will make it in the game, at least close to where they are. So this gives us a good idea of where the developers' heads are at for this season. And again, shout out to the Snapdot fan and Marvel Snap Bugle, where I got all of this data mined information. But let's actually talk about Weapon X. So he is a 2-1 with the ability after one of your other cards is destroyed, +1 power. Then, after this has triggered 3 times, improve this effect by 1. And I love this card because this is doing something that we've never done before, right? This whole after every third time improve this effect. That means you destroy 3 cards. Say you played Squirrel Girl, you play Killmonger, destroy them all. He'll get +3 power, right? It'll trigger 3 times, +1, +1, +1. Then any other cards you destroy will give him +2 power. You happens 3 times. Let's say you play out Deadpool, Wolverine, X-23, Venom, them all. Well, then he'll get 2, 2, 2. He's at 10 power at that point. Then any other cards you play, if you play like Arnim Zola, Knoll, or anything else, they'll give him 3 power. Then he's going to be a 2-13. I think once you get into that 3 power, this card gets insane, right? Yeah, if you only destroy 3 cards or 4 cards, he's really not that great. He's a 2-4, a 2-6. So I really think a good litmus test of what decks are going to want Weapon X are going to be how cheap can you get death, right? If you're playing like a Dormammu deck where you destroy 3, maybe 4 cards, like you destroy the initial card, maybe you destroy like 3 other over the course of the game, bring back Dormammu, that's probably not going to be enough for Weapon X. But if you're playing like a Morgan Le Fay with Squirrel Girl, maybe even the traditional destroy decks, there's the one place I'm going to be really curious is if Weapon X can go into those, Deadpool, Headpool, destroy decks, because we've seen such a fight going on in those decks for those slots, right? Do you play Headpool? People want to play Moira X. Can you get Arnim Zola? Like, can you even play Wolverine? I've seen people cut Wolverine for like Agony and stuff in those lists because they're just so compact now with all these cards we've been getting. Weapon X seems like he's going to be really great, and I think it is going to be key. The way I'm reading him is that he's not going to need to be on the board to see those effects. But if he does, then I think he gets a lot more narrow in his usages. Suddenly, if you have to wait until after you've played him to like start destroying things, then maybe he doesn't see play in those traditional destroy. Maybe you kind of have to play him in like a Morgan Le Fay, Death Wave style deck where like even Moon Girl, right, where you like play him on 2, play out a ton of stuff, then you play Moon Girl, copy those deaths, Killmonger, a million things, Morgan Le Fay, destroy Firewall. Maybe we'll see. I hope he doesn't need those because I think this is a really cool card, and I know a lot of people are going to be excited for it. But let me know, what do you think for Weapon X? Is he going to be a good season pass card? Am I reading him wrong? But let's go into the next one. And then data mined becoming in the season pass premium. So that's the extra $10 from the season pass, as well as just the Series 5 packs as normal. We have Adamantium Infusion. It is a 4-cost skill with the on reveal ability. Revive your highest power destroyed card here with its power doubled. So immediately, I'm giving this card 3.5 stars. I think this has an immediate home in like the Kiddo Mega Black Panther decks. We've seen like these Phoenix Force Nimrod decks where if your plan is to play like a giant, Shuri into or Superior Spider-Man into Nimrod and then blow it all up and throw those everywhere. I those decks were kind of a lot of them were playing like Elixir or they were playing Phoenix Force just to revive something. This basically does that, but way better because it's going to double the power. So I think this probably just outright replaces those immediately. And what's really curious though is does this go anywhere else, right? And I don't think you play this like even Kid Omega, right? Like you're not playing these in fair decks. I think Phoenix Force still has its kind of niche ability because you can move it right, like getting back a Human Torch or Multiple Man is something that this doesn't do. So I'm not. Maybe you can play this with those cards and then just like play Heimdall on the last turn. Kind of remains to be seen, but I don't know about really anywhere else. Like Elixir has not seen a ton of play, certainly not any fair play, and Phoenix Force has been very, very niche lately. So this is an incredibly powerful ability. I mean, it even works to like counter something like Shang-Chi or like if Fenrir becomes meta again, right? You can like play this before your opponent activates that last turn Fenrir, pull out that whatever they blew up from you, your Thanos, your Starbrand, double its power. It has a ton of potential, just that doubled ability. But you're certainly not going to be using this for anything fair. I think this will absolutely have a few homes, but we'll see exactly how many. 3.5 stars. I think it has a lot of power. Datamine to becoming that first week in seasonal Series 5 snap packs, releasing alongside the season pass, we have Chamber. They are a 2/3 with the activate ability plus 2 power for each 5 cost or higher card you have here and in hand. Now, first of all, this card has a lot of limitations, right? The 5 cost cards have to be here, they have to be 5 or higher, or they can be in your hand, right? So stuff like White Tiger and Doctor Doom, they can work because you can play them in his lane and then get power everywhere, but you're not going to get extra points for those Doctor Dooms, for those if you White Tiger a Wong, that's not going to like supercharge up this chamber. Really, I think the best place to kind of get extra power for chamber is in your hand, right? If you play like even like Nick Fury, that's 3 extra cards. That's 6 extra power. Then this is a 2/9. Now, do you want to be playing Nick Fury? Probably not. But one place that I can actually see this seeing play is in like Doom 2099 decks, where you just want to play like Doom 2099 into a Doctor Doom and like Sandman. And that's your next 2 turns. That's going to be 4 extra power for Chamber, not even doing anything else, right? You just play Chamber, Sandman on him, and then Doctor Doom or Legion, some other combination of 5 into 6 drop that makes him a 2/7. And then if you have any other cards, if you have Galactus First Steps in your hand, if you're playing really anything else, right? Then suddenly he's a 2/9. He's a 2/11. That is so much power. I think it makes sense why he has all these limitations, right? Because when I was looking at it, I was like, oh, Doom 2099 works super well with him, but it's 5 costs or higher. Or Doctor Doom works super well with him, but it has to be here or higher. So I think they put a lot of limitations, but for good reasons, right? Again, just playing a 5 drop on 5 and a 6 drop on 6 is that makes him a 2/7 plus any other that you have in your hand. I think it's going to be pretty regular that we see a 2/11, 2/13. To me, this card seems like what a lot of people thought Frankie Ray was on first read, where it kind of rewards you for having a lot of 5 or 6 drops, right? People thought Frankie Ray was just going to keep doubling and you wanted to play like 6 drop into 6 drop into 6 drop. Well, That's not how Frankie Ray works, but that is how Chamber works. So I'm excited. Maybe ramp decks can see that. I'm gonna be definitely be trying him in Sandman, Doctor Doom. Let me know what do you think about Chamber, and let's get into the next go. So coming to seasonal series 4, that same first week of the December season, we have Wild Child. Wild Child is a 2/1 with the ongoing ability +4 power if you discarded a card, +4 power if your cards has been destroyed, if one of your cards has been destroyed. And this is a card that I think is so unique. I love this effect, but I do, before I break down my rating on it, I want to say there is no card in the data mine that destroys and discards the cards. There's no like on reveal discard a card, activate discard, destroy something, or vice versa, or on reveal, you know, discard a card and destroy a card with less power. There's nothing like that. So you're going to have to use the destroyers in the game and the discarders in the game to trigger this. But I think it's really cool that we have this card because we have so many payoff cards for that ability, right? Dakin, X-23, Wolverine, all of these cards say when discarded or when destroyed. And usually, because we haven't had a wild child like effect that really wants to do both, and there's been no enabler for both. So again, I think that that's kind of weird that we don't have at least one card. I don't think we need like a ton of destroy and discard cards, but at least one for this kind of effect that they're putting in. But maybe it's coming down the road, maybe it works totally fine without it. Um, but yeah, since we don't have that, we finally have a card that's like connecting those abilities together. And it is very powerful, right? A 2/5 is not great, but not terrible stats. And when you get 2/9, that is actually like, that's a card that's worth playing, right? A 2/9 is a lot of power. That's like Morbius levels in discard, right? So, how are those decks going to look? I think that's going to be the hardest part of judging this card because it seems to me that this is an effect that's going to feel terrible until you find the exact ratio, right? And maybe that ratio is two destroyers and two discarders. Maybe two's not enough. Maybe you need three destroyers, three discarders. Maybe you have four destroyers and Airwalker, which when it, gets destroyed, pulls out a 4-drop, and you have a 4-drop discarder like Hell Cow or Silver Samurai, and you only need one discarder, right? It seems like one of those cards that's going to like feel close until we find that perfect list that mixes discard and destroy. Maybe you don't want X-23, but you do want Wolverine. Maybe you do want. There's another card that's going to be coming, Marrow, that I'm going to break down for you guys. Like, I think that there's enough payoff for those things that it's going to make it worth it to find those decks. But I'm giving it 4 stars because I think that it's going to be hard to find. But once we find it or get that missing card, it is going to be really fun and really powerful and a great way to kind of combine two decks that really haven't been combined before. And even Morgan Le Fay, she's revives cards that are discarded or destroyed. So like we really have a lot of things that like destroying and discarding. We just need to figure out how to actually do that. Datamine to also be dropping that first week in Series 4. It looks like maybe a limited time game mode that's dropping that first week. We have Wade Wilson. Yes, the Merc with the mouth, Deadpool, getting a new card, Wade Wilson. He's a 2/2 with, and this is a new ability, when destroyed. So it looks like they're kind of simplifying when discarded and when destroyed to not like spell it out every time, but just say when destroyed. Replace this with a 1-cost card from your hand or deck with +1 power. This card seems really strong to me. I'm giving this 4 stars, and I think this is the card that I think could be good enough for just straight destroy, right? Because Deadpool, Headpool, Moira X, like those decks have so many good 1-drops now that like I think this could replace Wolverine in them, right? This might be the reason we don't play Weapon X is because you just play Wade Wilson, turn 3, destroy it with like a Deathlock, pull out Deadpool, give it 2 power, next turn play Headpool and Killmonger, get that Deadpool up to 6 power and all in your hand. Like it can really help you in those mid game stalls that Destroy can get. So I see it there. I was also trying to see if there was any like 1-drops that were good enough to like tutor for, right? That's like, oh, you always want to have this 1-drop. I really couldn't find anything that was like, this is so good on its own, but if that ever happens, right? If you ever want like Loki, or if you ever want like, Kitty Pride, this could see play, even like maybe Human Torch if it went back to like a one drop, something like that, right? And I also think that it kind of works really well with Dormammu, Morgan Le Fay. Morgan Le Fay, obviously, right? It's a great card to like destroy and then pull out a, you know, Hawkeye and then destroy that, get Morgan Le Fay. It's going to keep getting power, like in that bounce thing that Morgan Le Fay lets you do. Dormammu, I can see it being really good too. Like Dormammu likes like Uncle Ben, Wade Wilson. Might, what is up, girl? What has gotten into you? But Dormammu likes like Uncle Ben and Bucky Barnes, cards that give you a lot of good value when they are destroyed, and Wade Wilson gives you a good one drop when it's destroyed. So I can see it seeing play in those lists. I don't know. I really like this card, and I think he might surprise some people because tutoring is a really powerful effect. And dropping the next week in the seasonal series 5 snap pack, we have Weapon H. They're kind of a mixture of the Hulk and Wolverine, which I think is really cool design. But they are a 7/14 with the ability, when discarded, put this back with -2 cost. And this is a super cool ability, right? I really like the 7/14 effect. It goes back to your hand, but I only gave it 2.5 stars, and I'm going to break down exactly why. I think this is a really weird kind of thing going on with him where he wants to be discarded a lot, right? And we have decks that want to discard cards a lot, right? Like the Dracula Apocalypse Khonshu deck loves, they play Modoc and a million discarders. But I think this card kind of fights both Khonshu and Apocalypse for their spots in the deck, and it really, I don't think, is an improvement upon those two cards because Khonshu is like 24 potential power and more discards. Apocalypse can get much bigger than 14 power. So while this does go back to your hand, which is really good, it does mean it can't go in with Hela. I don't know where this kind of fits, right? You can't like, it seems almost like you want to play it in a deck that discards like a couple of cards, right? That's not the all in Apocalypse deck. But if you only discard this card like once with the Lady Sif, or, it's only a 5 drop, then it's a 5/14, which is okay. But where it really shines is like a 3/14, a 1/14, right? You can get this really cheap. Then I'm interested. But do those decks that you know, get can discard it, those cheap. There's one kind of place that I actually think it could be really good is before like the Bullseye deck really took off. I was playing a very similar list that had like before we had Frigga and Prodigy to like copy Dakins and everything. I just played Wong in those lists. This was like way back when Meek came out, and I played like Collector into Meek into Wong, and then Modoc, Gambit, Moon Knight, and you just discard a million cards, blow up your opponent's board with Gambits, discard all their stuff with Moon Knights. And that could actually want to see Weapon H because those decks, like, I wasn't really playing Dracula in them. I'm also interested in this, maybe with like Colonel America or Zombie Power Man. If there is like this mid-rangey deck that can discard cards a lot, you play like Sword Master, you are playing like maybe a Modoc and like some swarms, like that Surfer discard list. This card seems interesting in that. Maybe we cut Surfer for that. I don't know. It seems like the homes that it would naturally fit might not be good enough for those. And is it strong enough? Can it really work in other homes? I'm definitely going to be trying it out, but I just don't know yet. So let me know. Am I totally wrong on Weapon H? Dropping the next week in Seasonal Series 5 snap packs, we have Maverick. Maverick is a 3/3 with the activate ability, give the next card you play power equal to this card's power. So this is a lot like a card like Lasher, right? Or even like Frankie Ray Nova, where it takes buffs and essentially doubles them, right? Lasher does it by afflicting an opponent's card with its power. Frankie Ray doubles it by actually doubling it when you play a 6 drop. This will double any power on it by giving it to another card. And that's really unique, right? Because in a lot of ways, Lasher's kind of an easier card to fit into something like Hand Buff because it's costs less, obviously, but it doesn't need you to be doing anything, right? You can wait until the very last play of the game and then activate the Lasher, however big it got from Nemora's, Gwenpool's, what have you, and then you just throw it on an opponent's card. Maverick needs you to have a card. And that kind of makes it weaker because you have to build it around more, but it also makes it a lot stronger because you can throw it on something like a Nimrod. You can throw it on Galactus, right? If you play this on turn 3 and then play like Symbiote Spider Man on turn 4 or Shuri, and then your turn 5, you activate this, play Nimrod. You play Forgotten One, that's 3 extra power. You can even play this, on to like an agony, that's 6 power. Then you play that Shuri, that Forgotten One. How much power would that be? Like 11, 22. You'll have 22 energy. Maybe you even play that in that Galactus list. So it's very unique. I'm giving it 3 stars because it really needs a specific shell because it can't just kind of generically double that power. I mean, it can, right? Like you could play with Deadpool, and it does kind of work with Headpool, right? You destroy Headpool a couple times, get up to like 5 power, then you play it out, draw Deadpool later, play it out, destroy it. It already has like 12 power. Maybe that's good enough. But I really think that this card's going to shine in these kind of unfair, like Forgotten One decks, Galactus decks, Nimrod decks. I definitely see it being really good there. So I think this card is good. I think it's going to be really great in unfair strategies. We'll see. I don't think it's going to beat out like Lasher in like a Namora deck, or I don't think it's going to be good enough to make hand buff really good, but it definitely has a really powerful and unique effect. So I think Maverick is going to be good. And then our first of our later in the month limited time game mode cards we have coming to Series 4, Marrow. Marrow is a 2/4 with the ability, when discarded or destroyed, randomly split -6 power among enemy cards. This is a really cool card. I'm giving this 4 stars because what this card does that we don't really have is this goes to the discard bin. This goes to your destroy bin, right? Cards like Wolverine, X-23, Scorn, right? That do Proxima Midnight. Like these are cards that you discard them and then they go on the board, right? They take up a spot. And you can't like elixir them back the next turn. You can't Morgan Le Fay for additional power. You can't use them to trigger Dormammu, right? But this one, because of the way that it works, like it gets destroyed, then you can play that Dormammu spell, and then maybe you bring it back with Elixir the next turn, Carnage it again. I think this card has a lot of potential, right? Because it's doing that unique thing, and I think it has like more power than most of them. I think this is in general going to be bigger than a Wolverine. It's going to be bigger probably when you build around it than like Proxima Midnight. And you can get it back, right? You can sacrifice it to Dormammu. Like, it has a really, really unique ability. I'm giving it 4 stars for that reason. And that Wild Child deck, I think will probably really want this. This is probably better than a Wolverine in a number of decks. Probably not just straight destroy, right? You probably don't take a stock Deadpool destroy list and take Wolverine out for Marrow, because the good thing about um, that Wolverine is you can keep destroying it, you can keep making it cheaper for like death. And same thing with like if you're playing, Modoc, you might want Proxima Midnight because, you know, it's just a bit more power as like a 4/7. This is really only -6 power. But I mean, -6 is so close. If you have anything that cares, even like Khonshu, this might just be better in like a Khonshu list because you trigger it, that's -6 power. You play that 6/8 Khonshu. There you go. There's your discarded card, and you don't even need to worry about, oh, I only discarded my Scorns and Proxima Midnights and Apocalypses, because this is like that, but kind of better for that. So I think that's where it's going to shine, is those cards that want those cards to be in the destroyed or discard, but I think he has a lot of power. Also dropping as a Series 4 card in that limited time game mode later in the month, we have the Fastball Special. It is a 2-cost skill with the on reveal ability, destroy your highest power card here to afflict an enemy card here with that much negative power. And this is a really unique card because on its own it does essentially nothing, right? If you have a 5-power card, you play the Fastball Special, it destroys it, gives your opponent's card -5 power. You pay 2 energy to move 5 power from you being up 5 to them being down 5. Doesn't do anything. But where it really shines is with a card like Nimrod, right? Where it essentially functions to like triple Nimrod's power. And I think this card immediately, if you're playing like Carnage or Venom in your Nimrod deck, this probably replaces at least one of those because, a lot of times on that last turn, like you play the Carnage on that Nimrod that got buffed up or brought back, however you got it, and then you Venom in another lane to like keep it really going. And again, this in those decks like doubles the power, right? Because you're going to get that 6 power in two different spaces, and then you get to, instead of Carnage being like 4, this is 6 power. When Nimrod's like doubled, that's going to be 12 power in two other lanes, and then afflict an opponent's card with negative 12 power. Same thing with like that Adamantium Infusion card that we were talking about, or Elixir, right? You can play like Black Panther, destroy it, it goes off, destroy it to Kid Omega. Kid Omega gets 10 power, then you play like Elixir or Adamantium Infusion, depending on which one you have. Bring back the Black Panther. It doubles. It doubles again from Adamantium Infusion. Then you Fastball Special, hit your opponent with that card. Obviously, if they have like an Iron Man or, they're playing Living Tribunal, it's way more. But in general, I think this card has a very specific place and it's going to be really fun, right? Maybe this is a reason why you want to play like Elixir with some like big on reveals. You just then chuck them at your opponent on like turn 4 or 5, bring them back with Elixir, Adamantium Infusion. Definitely has a home. We'll see how where else it goes, but and I love that art. I mean, look at that. That is the Fastball Special right there. And dropping the following week in Series 5 seasonal snap packs, we have Aurora. Aurora is a 6/5 with the on reveal ability. Give one of your other on reveal cards at each location +2 power. Repeat this for ongoing, activate, and end of turn. This card to me is getting 5 stars. I love this card. This is so cool. It is at its absolute best, this is a 29 power 6 drop spread among all your lanes, right? Because if you have an on reveal, an ongoing, an activate, and an end of turn somewhere, that's going to be +8 power. That's way more than Spectrum usually gives in most games. Like she'll hit like 5 or 6 things, right? That's already 4. And then it can do that for each location. Uh, Important to note that the way that it's worded, she doesn't see herself, right? And I don't know how often you're actually going to be able to do that. There are obviously cards like Thanos. Most of Thanos stones have like on reveals and ongoing, so that can be maybe a cheap way to kind of, you know, put an 4 power in a lane. You have like Zombie Mr. Fantastic as an activate and an on reveal. I'm going to be curious to see really when you start to build around it, right? You're like, okay, it's kind of easy to get on reveals in different locations. What about activates, right? Like, where can I put an activate and an ongoing or something, or an end of turn, right? Maybe Zombie Mr. Fantastic, or not Zombie Mr. Fantastic, but Mr. Fantastic First Steps with that end of turn ability. That's 2 more power, and you can start making things cheaper. Definitely some potential there. Where I really, really, really like her, and I mentioned this deck already once, but is in Doom 2099. Because Doom 2099 has an end of turn effect, and Doom 2099 gives you those Doom bots with ongoing effects. You play that Doom 2099 on 4. On turn 5, you play like Sandman. There's your on reveal somewhere. Then you play this, right? That's going to trigger on those 2 ongoings that you have, that end of turn, that on reveal. You can play Makari in those decks. I had a like Makari Fantasticar version of Doom 2099 that did super well for me, and I'm definitely going to be coming back with Aurora. That's why this is getting 5 stars from me. I also think, like what I said, yes, like completely building around this card, it's a 629, right? But you don't need, like, Spectrum doesn't have you fill every single spot, right, with ongoings to get like plus, you know, 40 power from her. No, like you play her with like 5 or 6, and then she's a 6/7 that gives you 12 power. If this is a 6/5 that gives you 12 power, 14 power, 20 power, that's gonna probably be enough. I can also see this being that Spectrum, right? We've had like Spectrum Doom 2099 lists before, and they kind of, after some of Doom's nerfs, fell off. But with Aurora, maybe we play those. Maybe we've seen like Spectrum ongoing Thanos lists. Maybe you replace that Spectrum with Aurora because of how much more power this has. I don't know. I love this card. Let me know. Am I way over, rating it? Because I think she's going to be awesome. And for our final card coming in December, we have Fantomex. But stay tuned because that's not the final card we have in the data mine. We have a couple cards actually from January that I'm going to talk about, but kind of quicker. We don't really have art or they can change around a little bit. But Phantom X is a 4/6 with the activate ability. If you've had cards discarded and destroyed, afflict front row enemy cards at each location with -2 power. So if you destroy and discard something, just like that wild child card that we were talking about, he will give all of your opponent's front row -2 power. And that can be 18 power card right here, right? That'll be 6 cards that he's afflicting with -2. 6 times 2 is 12, plus he's a 4/6. How great is this card? I'm giving him 3 stars. I don't like that, unlike Wild Child, who does something if you kind of fail, right? If you only discard or you only destroy something, Wild Child still gets some of that power. Phantom X needs you to have both to get any of his extra power, right? Otherwise, he's just a 4/6. Also, he's a 4-drop activate, which we've seen is kind of really hard to use efficiently. Like, obviously, we have 4 drops with activates that are good, Fantasticar, Superior Spider-Man's or Symbiote Spider-Man has been seeing a little bit more play, but it can be hard because you only have turn 4 and turn 5 to make this work. I mean, yes, you can do something like Jocasta, but then you're trying to put Jocasta and Phantom X in a deck that's destroying and discarding, which assumedly you are going to want payoffs for both of those, so probably not, but I think this card will see play. I think that Wild Child deck is going to want Phantom X, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's not the best card in it. He might have the most like kind of power, right? Because when he goes off, again, 18 power, and obviously if your opponent's playing like Captain Carter or something, then that's even better, right? If your opponent's trying to make Maverick work and you get to afflict that 3/5 Maverick with -2 power, that's even better, and maybe you do some afflict synergies. There is more going on here, but we've just seen those 4-drop activates be really hard, and it's already asking you to do something really hard by discarding and destroying. I don't know, maybe I'm just underestimating it. Maybe it's way easier to do that because again, now we have the cards that want to be discarded and destroyed, and we have the cards that pay you off for doing both with this and Wild Child. So, what do you guys think? Is that deck there? Do we have that destroyed discard deck? We have destroyers and discarders. I don't know. I'm definitely going to be trying out. I think this card is awesome design, but I'm not quite sure how powerful that deck is going to be just yet. And then just to kind of more briefly, because these cards are so far out and most of them don't have art and they might get a lot of changes, so I don't want to spend too much time on them. But these January cards, honestly, I might be more excited for this Dragon season that seems to be coming than the Weapon X season, even though we're obviously getting some really crazy cards in that. Yes, it seems to be all of the dragons in Marvel. So we have Dragon Man, who looks to be coming in Series 4. He's a 4/4 with the end of turn, +2 power for each location that's full on your side. So kind of like a end of turn Dazzler, which obviously makes it a bit weaker because you can't just throw it down on the last turn, but it's going to get, 6 power if your entire game is full. So if you like filled up on turn 5, that'd be 12 power on turn 5 and turn 6. Do you want to be doing that? Probably not, but maybe some mix of it I can definitely see being good. We've seen like the thing First Steps being worth it to fill up a lane on turn 5. Maybe this goes into that. I was just playing a Scarlet Witch deck with like Madam Web. This card seems cool. Definitely a unique card that I'm excited to have in the game. And then we have Fin Fang Foom, who is a 7/12 with the on reveal ability of gain the power of front row enemy cards here. I love that this is just a 7-drop, right? This is the first time we've had a 7-drop that's just like, yeah, if you can cheat me into play, I'm a lot of power, right? Cards like Erisham give you extra energy, or cards like Death get cheaper, Scar gets cheaper. We don't have just like oh, if you have 7 energy on turn 6, or through like Magic, Jennifer Kale, right? Luna Snow, a lot of ways to get 7 energy. now you can just have a huge card, right? Because even if your opponent has like Quicksilver Domino, right? That's 6 power. That's a 718. That is a lot of power for, again, not much else. And if they're doing anything else, right? If they have like Ajax in that lane, this just beats that. This beats any card that's like solo in a lane, really any card that's even like double in a lane, but barring some, shenanigans like Iron Man being one of those cards or something. But in general, this is kind of like the lane destroyer. So I love that we're getting that. I'm kind of surprised. I thought we might get like a 7 drop that just has like 15 or 16 power with no ability for like a revamp to high evo. So I'm a bit surprised that we're seeing it come with a text first, but I don't think that's bad. And yes, it's probably going to go in a Hella deck. It's probably just better than like Scar. But I think that there's a lot of potential for this card like outside of Hella, right? And that's where I'm really excited for it. Then we have Dragon of the Moon coming in Series 4. It's a 3-2 with the on reveal, steal 1 power from even costed cards in all hands. Really unique effect. There's a bit of a steal mechanic going on with dragons, which totally makes sense. I actually uh, kind of sometimes make my own custom cards. And my Fin Fan Foom was like a 6 drop that stole half the power of your opponent's biggest card. So really funny that how they also saw that for dragons working out is being steal. Now, how is this actually going to work? I mean, if your opponent has like 2 even cost cards in your hand, that's a 4 point swing. That makes it a 3-6. Maybe this works to bring back like Odd Hawk, I could possibly see, right? Because you're probably not going to want to steal power from your own cards unless it's, that Marrow card that we were talking about that like does something when it gets discarded or like destroyed or something. So Ah, it's a cool card. I'll definitely try it out in Odd Hawk, and it's definitely unique. Plus, there's probably going to be those turns where you just like play it on 3, hit 4 of your opponent's cards. It's a 3-6 that just hit them for 4, but also a little bit weaker because it is in their hands. It's not like on the board or anything, so they could just not play those cards, right? We've kind of seen from Scorpion, but also some good Afflict synergies. And then the last card, also being a skill at Series 4, is the Brand of Shaola. With it is a 1 drop skill with the on reveal. One of your other cards here steals 2 power from the highest cost card in your opponent's hand. And steal 2 power is technically a 4 point swing on a 1 drop skill that doesn't cost you a space. It can do something like feed a Lasher or a Maverick, right? Like a Scarlet Spider, like you can Sebastian Shaw. Like this triggers by putting power onto one of your cards and stealing it from your opponent's card. I like this a lot more than Dragon of the Moon. I think this card will definitely see play somewhere. Now, because it's your opponent's highest cost card, maybe that's Galactus First Steps, and they don't really care because it's going to be like a 6-16 anyways. Maybe it's like Shang-Chi, and they're like, okay, whatever. I don't need to play the Shang-Chi anyways, right? The highest cost card might be easy for your opponent to ignore, but I think in a lot of games this is kind of just going to be a 1-4. And again, you play this with those cards that want to get buffed, which I mean, all cards do, but the cards that really synergize with it, and I definitely see the potential here. So, that is going to do it then for this video. Again, let me know which of these cards are you most excited for, and I will put you into a season pass giveaway. So if you don't already have one, you can unlock the Zombie Scarlet Witch. And I'm super excited for the both of these seasons. I just love making these videos. So if you haven't already, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I'm going to be here. I hope that you guys are as well for my next one.